Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody joining us from all around the world today. We're having a great masterclass today with Lorenz Gamma, who is the head of strings and chamber music at Cal State University, Northridge. And he's also, let me get this right, the artistic director of the Boromir Festival in Switzerland. And we're really pleased, thanks so much to the Waverley Ensemble, who's represented by Ashani Bula here, who've made this day possible. Thanks, Ashani. It's been fantastic, the people you've been bringing to us this year online.
Oh, it's really great to be doing this with you, Nicole. You are fabulous at all the digital aspects, and I'm extremely grateful. And of course, a great music violinist as well, and a teacher. So I'm very grateful. Lawrence, thank you for being here. It's lovely to see you.
My great pleasure.
Wonderful. So Lawrence, we've got 3 of your students are going to be playing today. Now, these are actually pre-recorded lessons because we thought we'd get you the best sound quality we could. But as soon as we've played these 3 lessons, which will take about an hour and a half, we then got time for a question and answer session with Lawrence. And you can ask him anything about his teaching in Cal State, what it's like to learn there, what the course is like. Or he also teaches privately, so you'll get a fair idea from these lessons what his teaching style is. But if you have any questions for him, please do ask. And of course, also about the Boromir Festival too, if you like. So that question and answer session will be in an hour and a half's time. But Lawrence, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the 3 people that are playing for us today. The first one up is Pedram Pugazi, and he's going to be playing Leclerc for us.
Right, Pedram, he's actually a student of mine, a graduate student of mine at Cal State Northridge, and he has been just great to work with. You'll see his, well, first of all, he's a wonderful musician already. And second of all, he's just a wonderful person. So you'll see that in a second. He showed great interest in playing Baroque music. So I thought I would throw him in the water in the deep end by giving him a really fidgety French Baroque sonata. So I don't know if many people know the Leclerc sonatas. Probably many people know the Leclerc duos, so for 2 violins. But these sonatas are for 1 violin, but they sound like duos because it's all double stops. It's quite tricky. So that's Pedram. And then
we've got Brian Chang, who's going to be playing Nigun for us. So it's a hot favourite, Nigun. We love it.
Yes, exactly. Brian is a private student of mine. He's still in high school, Berlin High School. He's actually even younger than he looks. And he's also fabulous and has such great potential, as you'll see.
Yeah. And then to wrap it all up, we have Lena Saleh, who's going to be playing Glazunov.
Right. Lena is also a student of mine at Cal State Northridge. She's also a graduate student. And yeah, she's playing the Glazunov Concerto, which I actually myself didn't know that well, but she was very passionate about learning it. So she threw me in the water at the deep end by throwing this concerto at me. And I hope I was able to give her some sort of semi-coherent advice on it.
I'm sure you did, Lawrence. Lovely. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw Lawrence and Ashani out of the room here with me, and we're going to share this video of these 3 fantastic lessons. And then get your questions ready for Lawrence. You can put them in the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, or you can email them to info@musicalorbit.com, and we will put them to Lawrence at the end. So thank you very much, Lawrence and Ashani. I shall just move you out now. Okay, and now we will play this fantastic video. So enjoy, everybody.
Right, so Pedram, so you're going to play, was it the 2nd and 3rd movement of the Leclerc sonata?
Absolutely, yes, 2nd and 3rd.
Great, okay, I'm ready. Great, very nice. As a beautiful style, which I really like. It's very singing. It's beautiful. Let's see. How do I put my music? You know, I might just look it up on my screen here. So, no, I think I'll find a way. The most important thing is to find a little more cleanliness whenever you shift and whenever you do string crossings, which is really essentially all the time, because you're playing both soprano lines. You know, of course, Leclerc, he wrote all those duets, and so we have two people sharing what you're now doing by yourself. So finding purity whenever you have shifts, that we don't have any slides. So now we have to go from second position to half position. And there's a moment in the bow where the bow changes, which I call the dead spot in the bow. And that dead spot is where you should do all your shifts. So we're going to just simply do... You're starting down bow? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to make that dead spot very big. Shift. And then we have that. Try that out. Fantastic. And even there, wait a moment, shift in the dead spot. And then you avoid all those slides. And by the way, since we're recording this, you don't really have to take any notes. I'll share the recording with you. Good, so let's try that again. 2 times shifts in the dead spot with a lot of time. That was already so perfect. We don't even have to go through the other steps. I was going to have you take a lot of time and then gradually make the time smaller, 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 and eventually you can go straight through it. But you already did it. Very quick. You skipped steps number 2 through 7. So that's fine. So if I could suggest that you simply do this every time you have a shift in this piece, then you have everything perfectly connected and without slides. For example, there, right? All shifts. You want to try that?
Sure.
Good. Now, it's already, that was already so clean. Now you can go completely legato. Yeah, and that is the miracle of shifting in the dead spot of the bow, which you know, it's the easiest concept in a way, but it's the hardest to do sometimes when you don't think about it. So before you know, you have all these slides whenever you shift, and you know, it's very interesting. For me, when I grew up, the violinist Milstein always escaped me somehow. His records, we never had them in our record collection. Until finally I heard enough people saying that he's the greatest violinist of the 20th century, and I thought, strange, I never really heard his recordings. And I finally listened to all his recordings a couple of years ago. I bought them, and I started listening to them. It's the Mendelssohn Concerto, it's the Brahms Concerto, it's the Beethoven Concerto. And I listened to the Brahms Concerto, and the entire first movement, he does not have one slide, which is very... I know in the Brahms Concerto, and I thought this is the most unusual thing. And first of all, how can you, with all this gymnastics that goes up and down and all these singing lines? So he has an unbelievable way of shifting so fast and so clean in the right moment which is when the bow turns around, that you cannot hear a single slide. And then in the second movement, it's full of slides. Full of slides. So he really puts them exactly where he wants them. And other than that, it's spiffy clean. And I'm sure it's because of this type of technique, which is shifting in the dead spot of the bow. And the dead spot of the bow, it's really when the bow goes from right to left and from left to right, there's a moment where it has to change direction, where it just doesn't move. No matter how much we try to connect and play legato, the bow still has to turn around.
Right. So
there's still, it's a tiny moment. Right. And so keep that in mind.
Absolutely sure.
Now, the other thing I want to mention is to possibly have your elbow a little lower. You know, in the Baroque, of course, first of all, things were held up here, and it was considered right to have the elbow extremely low. And you can see that in etchings. You know, Leopold Mozart, for example, in his violin school, there's an etching of him holding the bow, and it looks very unusual for us, of course. But try it once out and have your elbow a little lower, and it gives you a little bit more of this. It's a relaxed, sort of fine sound. I think here it can get a little strong, you know, that sort of thing. And try it out and hold the bow a little higher just for kicks.
Sure.
Yeah, just to see what happens.
Oh.
It's fantastic. Keep going. It's great. Very nice. Very good. Good. That works really well. And then, you know, there's a new phrase here. I think maybe this movement, I'll quickly hold it up for everybody to see. It's a lot of notes, and it's very easy to, first of all, there are no rests. So I think you need to really define where the phrases end and where they begin. And just courageously really phrase. So tried everything just a little quicker. I'm suddenly realizing. Go from pick up to measure 3.
Mm-hmm.
Phrasing is good. The octave's a little out of tune, isn't it?
Right.
It's almost there, but let's keep going. It's fine. You can fix that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so
going on right at the forte, yeah. Sorry, I meant the next forte. You know, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. I think actually having just tried out holding the bow much higher, which, you know, takes away so much weight, and having the elbow a little lower, and then when you go back to the original bow hold, things are much lighter and much more refined, actually. You know, this is all that I really want to say about this movement. It's very beautiful. So why don't we go on to the next one?
Sure. Sorry.
Good, good. Again, lots of work for one violinist. Essentially, the work of two violinists. Just done by one person. A one-man show. A one-man duet. Really well done. So it's a gavotte, of course, en rondo, right? Rondo form, just like the other famous gavotte in rondo form. By Bach. So, what defines a gavotte? What is the character of a gavotte in your opinion? Just any sort of adjective that comes to mind?
Kind of uplifting. Starts with upbeat.
Right. So, I think we could get more of that. So, I think right now it's a little, I don't want to say downtrodden, but the opposite of uplifting would probably be downtrodden. It's just a little bit too earthbound. So let's probably start with just having shorter notes, like the first two notes. Yum bum. Yeah. Good. Fantastic. That's already so much better. Now, by the way, in measure, well, like a gavotte always starts in the middle of a measure, so there's always the question, is that measure 1 or is the next measure 1? But let's say the first full measure, 1, 2, 3, in measure 4, the second note should be an A. So you see an A. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it could be even shorter.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And there's a fun little half cadence there. Going there by C natural instead of C sharp, of course. It's like, so we go to B, right? Which, I think it could just be also a little freer, maybe. So shorter, freer. What a change already! You're incredibly flexible. It feels already like a completely different character. By the way, I'm sorry, you're still playing F sharp. It should be
Yes, I know that.
A. Okay, good. No big deal. So let's, the one thing, that little. Can you be even more expressive on that? Yum bum tom. That's perfect. That was really great. So it just needs a little gesture. Yum bum tom. It's like an invitation to dance. Shall we dance? Good. So let's move on. So now comes the B section, right? If that was the A section.
Right. One second. It's a little too fast.
I know. That's okay.
Not too fast, but yeah.
Try shorter. I wonder if shorter helps. Something like that. Maybe even shorter. Yum bum. Boom.
Sorry. One second. Sorry.
Right, and what if it's okay to be lyrical there? Oh, we do have measure numbers. Do you have measure numbers?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Good, good, good. So they're not at the beginning of the line. They're all in the middle, all over the place. So measure 12 is good to be lyrical. And then maybe we need to get out of it and back into a gavotte character. Ah. You know, so something that always brings us back into the
Back to the
into that sort of character, right?
right. So.
So I think everything is a little bit too much here. Move things a little lower here so things will become shorter and more, just a little more bouncy, which is okay. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and you know, right, and you don't need so much. I think it's just too much bow there. You know, keep things down here.
Okay. So.
Right, now you don't have to get rid of the slurs. Just on the slurs, don't suddenly go to the tip. You see, so you don't have to do... Don't go to the upper half, just stay in the lower half.
Right. Sorry.
Fantastic, exactly. So in other words, you know, keeping things lower on the bow, again, it's a stylish thing. If you held your bow here, you would probably do a lot more things down here automatically because it becomes so light and perfect in a way.
And under control, right?
Absolutely perfectly under control, right.
Right.
Good, that's all going really well.
Once again, just to make sure that, so it's like, and then stay kind of low.
That's it. Good, and then comes the A theme again, which we don't need to do. Then how about the C section, which is at 24? Okay, good. It's funny what he suddenly throws in there. Yeah, that does need to be very refined because you play everything else so refined. And by the way, that was very beautifully played. Try it once, just very slowly. Good, a little quicker. Okay, so, right, so you get too high in the bow, and then look what happens. It's a lot of work, and if you were at the frog, it would be too much work here, and somewhere in between is just the right amount, the right place, where it's kind of the least amount of work.
Oh, yeah.
Right, now you just need to untangle those fingers. So we want to have the finger blocking two strings.
Oh.
Still a little lower in the bow. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Going on, very good, right there. And then we're back to the 18th. Right. Now maybe that we can get a little cleaner. Just measure, 36.
Mm-hmm.
The rest was so clean and you're so elegant. And I think this whole light shifting and the bow thing, it's fantastic. That's about the biggest improvement I've seen in anybody in 25 minutes. By the way.
Okay.
Spread over 2 movements too. So we're very efficient. Now let's get this clean. It isn't easy, is it?
Not really.
Okay. So light, the left hand as light as, what's the lightest thing in the world? Ether. Almost like harmonics. And with the bow too. Good. Good, the B is a little sharp. Little lower the 4th finger. Nice.
Yeah, now then.
Exactly.
And then.
And good. And the A a little lower on that last one. Fantastic. So it's just getting the intonation a little better there, and that light left hand, that will make it for sure very, very clean. Which in general, I think you have that in you, this playing this very pure and clean. I think it's just a matter of relaxing. And so maybe the first thing, sort of in summary, could be to try out, play 10 minutes, 20 minutes with the bow held higher up and the elbow lower. And it just relaxes the sound. And when you play with a more relaxed sound here, that's maybe a bit too high. So once that becomes relaxed, then probably this will also relax. We all know what it's like to be in the middle of a romantic concerto and we play so strong that the left hand freezes up, right? That's because we play too loud. And we need to. But here you don't have to. So start with a more relaxed sound and then your left hand will become relaxed and then all these shifts will become clean. And everything is a work of perfection. So really well done.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. You're welcome. So yeah, good. I think First of all, legato is quite important, getting into the chord and then coming out of the chord. So not too chopped up, but quite connected. You know, even the way you come from that F into the E. It's a shift, it's a string change, it's all that, but it's still legato, I think. Yeah, I think that's better. And could there be more intensity, especially in the chord? Yeah, I think that's getting very good. Continue. Right, so probably the upper three notes are the most intense. Well, first of all, they're the highest. That's always something. In a phrase, you know, the highest three notes, or the highest note is always the highest note. So there's something special in terms of their intensity. So bigger, longer, louder. Yeah, can you make even more drama out of those notes? So there are repetition, and then he deals. So it's a repetition, and then. So in other words, the rubato is greater. The longer notes are suddenly even longer, and then, by the way, the run after that is very free and really fast. Right, so maybe start slower so that you can speed up, right? Dee da 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 dee da da. So the rubato is always both. It's not just fast or just slow. It's the combination of slow and fast. A little more expressive left hand, especially those three notes. Right, that's it. Very good. By the way, this so this is being recorded, and I can send you the recording afterwards.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take any notes right now. You can just keep playing. All right, going on. Da, 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 da. That first finger is a little flat. Can you try just the octaves again? That's good. Very good. So I think that the main thing in general for this whole Nigun is to be a little more daring with everything that's long. And you're already doing very well in many places. For example, here, you're really singing this out. Which is really great. There are other places too, though, where you can hang on to the notes longer. And just, again, intense, intense, intense. It's this whole piece is just all intense. It's just one of those pieces, there's no... there's hardly any relaxation at all. So... take time. Long, right? So try. So I guess what I'm saying is, when you take time, allow that repose to happen, the expansiveness, and then the long note and the intense note, even longer, even more intense. Great. Right, and very good. And can you just hold on to that up bow even longer, you know, slower bow. So at the beginning of the up bow, don't let the bow travel so easily. Almost. Uh-huh. That's it. Fantastic. And then keep going and just remember sustaining everything. Except that 16th. That I would not play. That doesn't have enough rhythmic power. Okay, let me tune my E string. It's not my violin. My violin is still in the shop, so I need to figure out where my fifths are. Somewhere there. So hold on to your notes. Oh no, what I meant is the rhythmic, the dotted rhythm very wabam, but everything else long, right? So go from here again. Yeah, what if that triplet was more largamente, you know, each note heavier? Oh, I see. You know, I would do a different fingering actually. Yes, Brian. I would do a different fingering. 4/4. Try. Right, and then quite quick that 16th. Yeah, you know, Bloch is interesting. He writes an accent on that 16th. It's perfect. He marked actually everything. Whatever he marks is very useful. Yada. Good. Start a little slower your... again, in the interest of rubato, you know. So when you go from the triplets to the 16ths, not too quick. Go from... That's it, good. And then we do want the scale just a little cleaner when you get to the top. Can you do that slowly? Good, a little quicker. You can, I think it would actually help if you slow down those last few notes. And there's a funny marking in the score, again by Bloch, and unless it's a misprint, he marks an accent on the second to last note.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, maybe it's not a misprint. Maybe he wants those last couple of notes to be, you know, that way. So that could be an indicator that not to rush those last notes. Something like that. Great, good. And then the fermato would play a little longer. By the way, and then a 16th quicker. Great, let's go on. Yeah, that already has a lot of character. It should just have even more character. So we want to take away a little more of the gloss. This isn't glossy music, but you're heading in the right direction. So what about the beginning? You know, those octaves, can they be more gutsy? You know, just tearingly intense. Yeah, I think that's getting better. So again, he writes accent, accent, accent. What if they were more, you know, essentially throwing your arm around with greater energy? Yeah, that's it. Exactly. So it's a greater force in the bow. Again, it's not necessarily, the energy is not distributed over the entire stroke, but it's at the very beginning. It has an ictus, almost on every stroke, and then it's sustained on top of that. So it's intense plus intense. go till there one more time. Good. Yeah. Yeah, very good. By the way, could you do a first finger on the E flat? I would just keep that still in 5th position. And going back to the octaves, can you play the B flat slower? Right, of course, it's resolving down. Fantastic. And then let's go there, go on. Again, intense and dark, right? Yeah, that's very good. The rubato on these two measures is it's kind of unique. It's a little hard to put it in words. 2, 3. Da da dee da 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 dum pa ba ba bee ba 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 ba. Fantastic. Yeah. Very good. And then these downbeats all a little longer. So, you know, measure 33 downbeat longer, measure 34, measure 35. And maybe even more rubato on the triplets. Maybe slower. You see, you can speed up more. And then just hold on long to those notes. So 3 details. Start the triplets even slower. Speed them up even more. And then the downbeats really long. Good. Fantastic. Fantastic. Just the downbeat 33 even longer. Good. Really good, really good. What if you lifted the bow before, you know, so that A has a little bit more character? And I'm not giving you any reasons why. A lot of this is just
like feeling.
Feeling. It's how I see it, and you know, somebody else will tell you something different. But what I do know is that it's very gutsy music. And sometimes, you know, lifting the bow and then essentially throwing it back down on the violin just gives us this accelerating effect of energy, you know. So again, less glossy, maybe less smooth. It's okay sometimes, you know. So exaggerated a little bit, but you can have some of those in there, you know, a little crashy. It just it again it creates more energy, and I hope this microphone is taking that. Did it sound really rough and awful?
Yeah.
It probably did. Well, let's say, you know, and that's where then the acoustic of a good hall comes in, because a good hall can take this sort of thing and turn it into just good power. Now, if you're in a not so good room, then you would need to shave some of this energy off so that that's not just ugly. Okay, try. Actually, those, you can just go maybe from the highest octaves, the C. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. Unfortunately, the notes are not quite right, though.
Yeah.
So be careful. Let's just go from here. Exactly. So that used to be called Gypsy Minor with 2 augmented seconds. Yeah, anyway, so 2 augmented seconds. Maybe one last time. And then maybe not so fast, because we do want to hear that special kind of scale. Good, let's keep going. Yes. Okay. Can we go again from the, the sort of the second theme? Yeah, that's fine. It sounds a little... That actually, to me, sounds a little too heavy. And not that the sound shouldn't be, gutsy, but I think maybe in terms of motion, it could have a little more flow now. So, in a way, that it's a contrast to the first two pages, which is all... kind of stuck and heavy. And now... So a certain flow, you know what I mean? Great, keep going. And then it's just, of course, it's a matter of intonation, most of it. Let's quickly look at the fully diminished seventh chords. Very good. And the next one. Great. And you just disappeared. Ah, you're back. Good. Shall we try that? Yeah, that's already much better. In general, I think the second half of the measures that have dotted rhythms, I think I would play those a little longer. So those two up bows. So a little more singing. Yum, pa, bum, bum. Even longer. Still a little too short. So. Exactly, and especially the second one. I know you then need to rush into the next chord, but don't let that shorten your melody. Yum, pa bum bum bum. If you were singing it, so we don't want yum pa bum pa da. Good. And maybe let's just do one more bit of the phrase going on. Just careful with intonation. pretty good. Just the B and then B flat. Much better, exactly. And so I guess there are 2 half steps. Things are crammed up. Good, 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 good. And then keep going. Yeah, I think that's already much more in tune. And you could have a gut-wrenching slide into 68. So put both fingers down and slide into the downbeat. Exactly. It's just another way of, increasing tension. Slides they're not just fun, but I think they intensify something. Wonderful. Why don't you, if you don't mind, we'll just go sort of big chunk by big chunk. It's beautiful. So between the beginning and rehearsal 2, where would you think is the high point? This and a lot of Russian music from the 19th century is epically long in terms of just the concepts of the phrases. And the winner of that in Russian music is, of course,
Tchaikovsky.
Yes. So it's long-winded, isn't it? And I think we need to know sort of geographically where we are. And the high point is always, it's good to know where it is.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Measure 15?
Yeah, exactly. It's the highest note. No surprise, right? So to be there on the A string, I don't think is a good idea because so your high point was here, and it's just very, it's the most beautiful sound on the violin possibly. It's high up on the A string. That's an incredible sound, but it doesn't make for much of a high point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did. And then, the next element is lower, but you played that on the E string, which makes it sound louder. So it's a long way for me to say you should be on the E string, okay. In that moment. So maybe... that sort of thing. Can we go from the beginning again?
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. Maybe the beginning is a little strong.
Okay.
So we don't want to give it all away.
Yeah.
A little bit like in the Tchaikovsky concerto. I'll make sure I won't only talk about Tchaikovsky while we're working on the Glazunov concerto, but but we do have to put everything in context. One of Tchaikovsky's actually favorite dynamics is mezzo forte, which one doesn't really think of. We think of Tchaikovsky, you know, endless churning and climax, climax, climax. But he often he writes the word or the letters MF way more often than any other composer, I find. He also writes quadruple piano and quadruple forte. So, but the mezzo forte for some reason is often there, you know. So there's, and it's kind of similar here. So it's not soft. It's not a piano beginning, but it's not a forte beginning either. Mm-hmm. So you have to embrace that and make it its special thing, mezzo forte. Some people call it the coward's dynamic. But don't play like it's a coward's dynamic, play like it's really meant to be just in that sort of area of music making. Yeah. Great. It's nice. For me, just the beginning sounded a little loud, but that could be a Zoom thing. Okay. So imagine that you're starting that maybe that first note not so direct. I don't know if you could you tell that this kind of is a mezzo?
Yeah, like breathing into it, kind of.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly. So it's ultimately more complex. Okay. You know, ideally you should come up with a dynamic that we are not quite able to quantify. Was that mezzo forte? Was it mezzo piano? It had a little bit of this and it had a little bit of that in it. That's what we want. So nothing too concrete. And that also means within the phrase there could be a little more up and down. I think it's great. So the utmost romantic complexity. Now be careful, the E intonation is a little flat. Okay. And also complexity in the timing of the shaping of the melody. Anywhere is good. That's the good thing about these phrases. You can really start anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not a Mozart concerto. Wonderful. For me, it seems a little crammed, the bowing at... Do you have rehearsal numbers?
Yeah, I do.
So at rehearsal 1, I would split this.
Okay.
Maybe because of also... feels natural, feels better than on down up, and then same thing here. For me, it goes always to the long note.
Okay.
So that's why I do that bowing. Yeah. And then another up.
Okay.
And sorry, I meant another up on the second G.
Oh.
You know, on the little eighth note there.
Oh. E
Oh,
string.
and right, and E string. So essentially, I just go to the E on that pickup.
Okay.
You know where you're doing that extra up? Just go to the E.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It's maybe not the most ideal solution either, but I can't think of a better. And I did think about it, or I did try everything out, and it just kind of. At some point, you have to go to the E string, otherwise it will not feel like a high point. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have that marked in my edition too, actually. I don't know why.
Oh, I see. So that wasn't even my idea, probably. Like every good idea, it's never really original.
Um,
Great. Yeah, very nice. It does say forte there, and it does say animato.
okay.
You should just, if somehow, get it faster. Da ya da di da di da di da di da di da. That's kind of a pianism. We can imagine pianists
Yeah.
doing this in,
Yeah.
you know, Rachmaninoff, endless chromatic up and down.
Mhm.
That comes a little more easily, I think, if you're a pianist. Other than that, of course, you do have to learn all those notes that just make your life harder. We just have one at a time, and it's awkward enough the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, something like that, for example, like in Mendelssohn,
Yeah.
practice that with the rhythms.
Okay.
And one of them will feel the most awkward, and that's the one you will have to practice. So when you have a lot of string changes, it's usually just bow technically tricky. So let's try once the first rhythm. When you have triplets, you have 3 rhythms. When it's in 2 or in 4 duplets or quadruplets, then it's
Right.
the dotted rhythms. But when you have triplets, stop on every first note. And then you stop on every second note. And so on, and then you stop on every third note.
Okay.
Let's try that. Very good. That's the idea. Now, when you do rhythms, exaggerate the quickness
Okay.
of the quick notes, because you want to almost trip yourself.
Yeah.
So really challenge yourself. How fast can you get to the fast note? Can you to the long note? Can you do it one time? Fantastic. That's it. Good. Now let's try the second one. So start with 2 quick notes. Da da da.
Oh,
And no cheating with the bowing.
Yeah.
Because, so these rhythm things, it's not just a left hand opportunity to get that better or faster, but it's actually often with the bow to get better at whatever awkward string changes you have. So go to the frog. Use the whole bow. Right. Now you're doing a funny thing. You're doing fast, fast, and then you wait before the long note. Rush into the long note. And maybe start in the middle. Fantastic. Perfect, exactly. And it has to feel awkward, otherwise you're not doing it right. Okay, and then finally stop on every third note, so you would stop on the first note. Oh, that's going to be the hard one, I think. Very awkward.
I'll see if I can. Wait.
Yeah, so you're gonna stop on a high F, and that's going to be part of the awkwardness. Da ya da da, ninth, right? Yeah, I think you're getting. That's the main point. So that will take a little practice.
Okay.
But then and of course, step number 2. Metronome very slowly, da dee da dee da da dee da da, and it will feel so easy. You'll see.
Yeah.
So definitely do the rhythms and then metronome, and 2 things: get it faster, and forte. So lots of. Okay, then the scales were good. So why don't we go to page 2? Why don't we play the next page as well? Good, very good. Not sure about the spiccato at the end.
Okay.
It seems to hold the music back.
Okay.
Sort of an unnecessary classicism. I think think brilliant, speed, think symphonic, you know, more liquid. Can you try once those last two measures and just step on it a little bit? Exactly. And ideally without falling off the fingerboard. But that was good. I think it, yeah, speed is more important than articulation here. Again, it's not a Mozart concerto. Okay, so when we go back, there was definitely one place where you could have a more romantic fingering. In the third measure, can you play me once the third measure? You know, mezzo forte. You see?
Not the open E, yeah.
No. So, right, so what if you went, first of all, I would start in fourth position, and then just A string and lots of slides. Try. Good, that's yes. And then keep going and maybe another slide somewhere. Oh, no, no, no. Maybe that. Right. That's already better. So it's a little more connected. So not too clinical, the fingering. And that unfortunately does sound again like the opening of the Tchaikovsky concerto. Just a different key. So it's fingering maybe something like. And then. So, you know, stuff like that. Exactly. So in the Tchaikovsky. So there's, you know, a little bit of slide here and there. So these little, even half-step slides, they're not the biggest slides, but make them very audible.
Okay.
I think they have just become part of the canon of romantic music, and certainly of Russian romantic music. So why don't we go again from here? There's another opportunity there. Very good. Or you could end simply up and then down. I think it makes sense to kind of just let that fizzle out. And sure enough, he does write a diminuendo a measure prior to that, so it's the end of, it's the softest moment. No need to go to the front.
Okay.
Good. Wonderful. Okay, good. So now let's talk a little bit about the vibrato, which I think this sort of phrase shows it, that you have a little bit of a sort of an on/off vibrato.
Okay.
And what we want to eventually maybe develop is one that has all the shadings in between too.
Okay.
because sometimes, and maybe when you watch the video, you'll see there are some notes that are vibrated and others are not, and it's either 100% vibrated or then suddenly nothing.
Okay, yeah.
And find a way to, and that's, I'll show you a vibrato exercise maybe some other time. It takes a little longer than the 4 minutes we have, but maybe you can remind me and I'll gladly show it to you. So a lot of it has to do with maybe once you've done a basic vibrato exercise, something like with metronome or with rhythms, whatever. Once you've developed that, then you have all the speeds, and then you're going to do a scale slurring notes. And when you slur notes, it's easier not to stop in between the notes. That sort of thing, which is one of the harder things about vibrato, is not to stop between the fingers.
Yeah.
So that's step number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a kind of a different way of using vibrato, which is kind of a connecting thing rather than this note is vibrating, this one is not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will get there, yeah?
Is it in the hand shape I'm using for vibrato, or like the direction?
I didn't quite hear it. Are you asking, is the hand shape part of the solution?
Yeah, like am I doing like a weird motion for it? Or
No. No, your posture, your hand is excellent. You don't need to, so for you it's very easy. I think we'll just do that exercise that I kind of hinted at right now, and you'll have it in no time. I think your hand shape is just fine. So it's not like I vibrate every note the same, you see, that's not what we want. And there are notes that I don't vibrate either, but it's maybe not such a cold on-off situation. Can you try once? Just play what I just did. Don't worry about timing or tempo. Just vibrate your way from one note to the next. That was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful. Did that feel a little funny or unusual?
Yeah, but I think it's making me realize I do that a lot.
Right. And what will also help is just to watch the video, which I'll send you. You know, I think you might not even need the exercise. I think you just need to become aware of what it could do. But maybe next time when we'll meet, I will quickly show you. Just remind me.
Okay.
Beautiful. It's wonderful. So I think that is definitely something, the vibrato thing, you can just apply to the whole piece. It's just, we're considering it part of, as I said, the way we do this type of romantic music that's very lyrical. And it's, of course, it's very virtuoso too in places, but it's a lot of epic long melodies. And I think a good reason why we want the continuous vibrato is so that the music is continuous, you know, so it doesn't constantly stop and go. That's definitely part of the idea of this music. Great. Okay, so my bread needs to go in the oven. My little alarm is going off. So that was fun, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lorenz. And thank you also to Lena and Pedram and Brian, who are wonderful guinea pigs, for want of a better word. Thanks, Lorenz. So we've got some questions coming, and now's our moment that our audience can ask you questions. Some of them are here watching live, but many of them, because of time zones, weren't able to be, but they've sent in their questions. Now that you were talking a lot to Lena there at the end about vibrato, And one of the questions we've got from Bob was, are there any tips for getting a good wrist vibrato? And when I was watching you play there, I was seeing are you more of an arm vibrato man, or are you flexy?
No, I have to yet meet a person who successfully alternates between wrist and arm vibrato. I think we all, correct me if I'm wrong, and I would like to meet that person who can, but I think most of us just use one or the other. And I don't think one is better than the other. And I happened to have my violin here, so rather than talk about it, I should probably show what is my trick for wrist vibrato. I tried to teach it to myself, and every time when I almost had it, I fell back into the arm vibrato, because that's the other thing is, once you vibrate one or the other, I think it's quite difficult to get rid of that and change. But Bob, if you're very young, you all is not lost. You can learn one or the other. So anyway, you wanted to know about wrist vibrato. I think the most important thing is that this part of the hand is in contact with the body of the violin, thus, and therefore you're going to practice wrist vibrato in 5th position. So if you did it on the D string, it would be probably on a B. And you see, I'm not moving my hand away from the violin, because if I did, it would become an arm vibrato. So the rule number 1 is this part of the hand, the palm of your hand really, is in touch with the violin and doesn't leave. And the second rule is it's this sort of opening motion that is by rocking the hand backwards. Imagine going to a B flat. So that is your motion. Because, now this is number 3, and I promise I won't go on forever, but this is so crucially important that we don't vibrate above the note. Whenever we vibrate above the note and below, imagine if this is your B and you're vibrating below the B but also above the B, that sounds sharp because the ear picks up the highest of the motions. So that would be sharp. Now, strangely enough, if we only vibrate from the main note down and back up to the main note without going above, that does not sound flat. Again, because the ear hears the highest motion. So this is vibrating from the main note down, which does not sound flat, and vibrating from the main note down and up or above does sound sharp. So that's the other thing. But wrist vibrato is really essentially put your hand up to the violin, vibrate in 5th position, do it with rhythms and metronome, and it's this sort of wavy motion.
Yeah. Sort of rolling on the fingertip.
That's exactly it. Oh yes, one last thing. This knuckle, now I don't know, I need to maybe pin myself so I can...
Oh yes, I can pin you.
Good. So, there. This knuckle joint, this first knuckle joint, should collapse when you vibrate. There. Sometimes people get very tight, and especially, so again, I don't know how old you are, Bob, but maybe you teach beginners or you are very young.
He hasn't said, actually, I don't know. So. That's
okay. Then you can even, let's say if you teach a beginner, you can even gently making sure that this little knuckle is soft. We don't want that to be tight.
Yeah.
Now there are exceptions. And I haven't analyzed it into the last great details, but I think Hilary Hahn, who we all know and admire, her vibrato is surprisingly hard. You can hardly see it, but when you listen to it, it's the most beautiful thing ever. So this is an exception. Her vibrato, I don't know. We would need to watch a video and see if she actually even collapses this joint or not. But I would say for us merely mortals, it's okay to collapse that joint. It just gives more looseness.
A bit of softness in the hand.
Softness. Exactly.
Lovely. Thank you, Bob. I hope that helps. We've had a question from Pratitya who says, how much chamber music is there in the Cal State program that you teach in? Now, you're head of chamber music as well as head of strings there. So what kind of balance are we looking at if somebody was to go there for undergraduate?
Quite a lot. There are some other schools where chamber music is a little bit limited because, of course, it takes a lot of faculty to teach it. So sometimes a student cannot necessarily be in chamber music every semester, but at our school, we've figured out a system where that is absolutely the case. So anybody who comes to study at our school is in chamber music every semester, if they choose so, and most of them, of course, choose to be. So chamber music is part of everyone's diet at our school at all times.
So it should be. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, I'm sure lots of you know Lorenz has a wonderful chamber music career. One of our questions here from James says, of all the chamber music that you have played ever in your life, what is your favorite work or composer, if you can't narrow it down to the favorite work?
Mm-hmm. You know, it's I sometimes, like once every 2 years, I teach a course in that's called chamber music literature, and I thought I would love to actually teach that course, so I offered to teach it, and I give my students a lot of homework. They have to do some preparatory sort of field work, and they have to go around, and one of my assignments is they have to ask 30 or 40 people in the school or elsewhere, what is your favorite or what do you think is the greatest piece of chamber music of all times? And then they have to kind of distill it down and see if any of them agree or if they come up with 40 different answers. And there are sort of front runners, and I do agree with so many string players who all, of course, think that it's the Schubert Quintet. And so I think for me, I will just go with that for lack of
I have to say that's right up there for me, but for me also, does it count as chamber music, the Metamorphosen? I have to admit, little large, but then I am a symphonic girl at heart. So for me, that's the most amazing piece of chamber music, the full version, the 23 piece. Is that chamber music? Does that count, Lorenz?
Wait, sorry, it's, for some reason, I just didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, the Strauss Metamorphosen.
Oh, the Strauss Metamorphosen. I've never played it. Is it for 23 players or something?
Well, you can do it for 7, you see, actually, even more amazing. But 23 is so incredible because it feels like an orchestra, but then it feels like chamber music, which I think is magic. So there you go.
Yeah, that's interesting. It is a piece I'm lacking in my repertoire. Well, when this is all over.
When this is all over, indeed. And you could do the 7-piece, COVID friendly, socially. Oh. There you go. What about you, Ashani? What would be number 1 for your list?
Verkehrsnacht or the Schubert.
Yes.
The Brahms sextets. I love the Brahms sextets. The Mendelssohn octet. Sorry, you got 4 now.
Yeah, you can't get a favourite there from Ashani. Sorry, James.
Doesn't count. You have to say 1, and it's so hard.
It's very hard. Yeah.
Desert Island Discs, isn't it? Great. So another question from Rahul, who says, how much practice per day do you expect from your students when they come to you at Cal State?
I expect 3 hours a day, because I think in 3 hours a day you can do a lot of good. Now, somebody might be exceedingly street smart and savvy and wiggle their way through the back alleys of violin education with this shortcut and that shortcut and get it down in 2 hours. But I think if you're sort of an average learner in 3 hours, you can get everything you need. Yeah.
What do you think of people that say, oh, I've done 6 today? Is that a good or bad thing?
Yeah, that's good. I think if you've done 6 hours, I hope you'll do something really fun afterwards. I've very rarely done 6, and to be very honest with you all, I've very rarely done 3.
Lorenz Gamma.
Let's ask you next.
But I learn faster than most people, I think. Because I focus so hard when I practice that I need very little time, and I know I cannot necessarily expect the same thing from all my students. I would need to go and collect everybody's phones if I wanted them in 1.5 hours to get everything done.
Yeah.
So knowing that these little machines are always there somewhere, I think 3 hours is good.
Do you think there's such a thing as over practicing, doing too much and it not being quality enough?
Sure. Sure. I don't think 6 hours is a bad thing. If you practice 6 hours really concentrating really well, you're amazing. I mean, you will have gotten so much done. But if you've practiced 6 hours without thinking much, and you know, of course, the hardest thing is to never repeat something without there actually being progress. Sometimes we repeat and repeat, or students repeat and repeat, and it sounds just the same the second time and the third time and the fourth time and the 15th time as the first time, or maybe out of 15 times doing the same measure or passage or shift, maybe 4 times it sounded slightly better, but 11 times it was kind of the same. So you've got to really look at what did you do in these 11 times. Did you even think, or did you even focus, or did you just try again? So there you can shave off so much time, save a lot of time wasting.
Yeah, very good. Now Caroline's asking about Borromeo Festival in Switzerland that you are artistic director of. How have things been for Borromeo this year? What happened last summer?
Well, not great. We simply, well, last summer we replaced our festival with a series of masterclasses, sort of like you do at Musical Orbit. We did 2 weeks of masterclasses essentially daily, and they were all by Zoom and by registration and all that. And this year, yet again, we just had to not do the festival. And we decided it's the essence of the Borromeo Festival to be together in Switzerland, in this town, and really properly be together. So we're not replacing it.
But planning next year? Next year, planning to be there? Next year or else. So what's it like there? Can you describe it to us?
Yeah, it's in a small town it's a quintessential small town in Switzerland. It's actually in the middle of the mountains. It's on Lake Lucerne, or near Lake Lucerne, about 5 minutes away, and it's in the Alps. So people who come to Alter for the first time. It's by the way where I grew up, so I don't know any better. But people who come to Alter for the first time, they think they're almost being hit by these mountains. They're all on all 4 sides, and it's not on top of a mountain, it's in the mountains, but it's the views are that. So those are the views you can probably imagine. So if you like mountains, it's a good place. If you get claustrophobic among mountains, then it's not your place.
What about the program? What happens during the festival? Right.
So during the festival, it's a 2-week-long festival. So students have 3 private lessons and at least 3 chamber coaching. So 6 lessons over 2 weeks. Plus there are master classes, there are studio classes where students can also perform. Then there are recitals where every student performs recital works. And there are, of course, chamber music concerts, student chamber music concerts, faculty chamber music concerts. And there are a couple of concerts where faculty collaborate with students as well in chamber music works. So we play side by side with students. And that's one of the things we're actually most passionate about at our festival, because it's, for us faculty, it's one of the best things too. As much as we love playing with each other, we also love playing with students, especially when they're so wonderful, like the students you've heard today. By the way, I was not watching the lessons. I had coffee with my wife at the other end of the house. So I felt a little bit when I left you all to your own devices an hour and a half ago. I felt like a sommelier who just poured a bottle of wine for his guests and then said, "I hope you enjoyed." He doesn't actually know how good the wine is.
Oh, the wine was great, Lorenz.
An hour and a half later, he comes back and says, "How was it?" So I hope it was okay.
It was fantastic, and wonderful playing from your students as well. So thank you very much for that. We've just had a little question come in here from Rodrigo, who says, what standard should you be to apply to Cal State for entrance at 18? Approximately. Could you give us any guidelines there?
Mm-hmm. How do we describe that in words? The standard.
Repertoire?
Sorry.
Repertoire, approximate.
Yeah, our repertoire requirements are very loose, and I actually insisted that they remain very loose. For example, we also allow, if somebody is a fabulous, for example, jazz violinist, and he wants to have part of his audition a jazz piece, that's perfectly fine. So we're not rigid. Let's put it this way. But the approximate level should be so that within 4 years, you can comfortably become a professional violinist. Because I think the definition of a professional violinist is having a degree. Some people define being professional as getting paid. It's probably both, but I think having a degree is what we call a professional.
Yeah. And
so there's 4 years to learn, and that's more important than being a polished, perfect professional by the time you audition.
So you're looking for potential as well.
That's exactly right. We're looking for the potential. When I hear somebody, if I work with this person for 4 years, do I feel comfortable that they're becoming a professional violinist? And 4 years is actually quite a long time. 2 years is not a long time. So with graduate students, to kind of squeeze everything in that I know about the violin or that I believe in the violin in 2 years, that's hard. I usually run out of time. But that's fine because they're already professional violinists because they already have a degree.
True. Fantastic. Thanks, Lorenz. I'd just like to hand over quickly to Ishani before we wrap up today. Ishani, I know you'd like to thank Lorenz for joining us today. He's been fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Lorenz, so much. It's just a delight to watch you teach. It really is.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
I learned so much from listening to you.
The reason why I teach is because I actually really like seeing the progress in students and them really blossoming. That's the only reason why I teach. It's not an ego thing, and it's not. When I teach, it never gets ugly.
Yeah, I love that Leclerc. I've never heard the Leclerc before, so I'm going to go out and get it.
Yeah. It's very nice. By the way, it's on IMSLP, very clean, beautiful copy. There's also the manuscript, which is very hard to read.
Yeah, I don't know the school, so I'm going to get into those.
Yeah, it's one of the numbers. There are 12 sonatas, so you have to rummage around a little bit. But I don't remember the opus exactly, but I can let you know.
Thank you, Nicole, as ever. Thank you, the students for playing. It was great, really nice.
Thank you, everybody. Huge thank you again, Lorenz. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next Waverley Masterclass. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
That's great. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.